There's something very interesting happening right now in the AI trade. For the last 2 years, NVIDIA has been the obvious winner, the obvious AI stock, the obvious AI infrastructure company, the obvious place that investors run to when they want exposure to the future. But Wall Street never stops asking the question, what's next? After NVIDIA, what's coming up? What once a trade becomes crowded, investors start looking for the next layer beneath it. NVIDIA's going, so what's coming up? It's human nature. We want to know that about all kinds of things. We had spaghetti last night. What are we going to have tonight? What's next? What's next on the agenda? And that brings us to Marvell Technology, ticker symbol MRVL, Marvell, because suddenly analysts are upgrading the stock, price targets are rising, AI infrastructure spending forecasts keep climbing, and now AMD has disclosed an equity stake in Marvell. And psychologically, that changes the story because investors immediately start asking, well, what does AMD see here? What does AMD see in Marvell? Because they just picked up a chunk of it, pretty good chunk. Yet technically, this does not automatically mean some gigantic partnership is coming, but markets are emotional systems and perception matters, especially during AI booms. And Marvell already has exposure to data centers, networking, custom silicon, optical connectivity, and AI infrastructure. In other words, Marvell is the plumbing behind the AI revolution. And that's important because one of the biggest emerging themes in this market is this. Investors are starting to realize that AI is not just about the models. It's about the infrastructure underneath the models, the networking, the movement of data, the bottlenecks, the optical systems, the chips connecting massive AI clusters together. And that's where companies like Marvell suddenly become very interesting to Wall Street, especially if investors start believing this could become another second order AI winner. Now, here's where the psychology gets fascinating. The stock has already had a huge move. Marvell, huge move. And some analysts, they think it's overheated. Some valuation models say shares are expensive right now. And yet, momentum continues. It was up a bit today. It dropped 4% overnight. And at the open, it was already up from an hour before market open. It was already heading up, probably because of the AMD news. So momentum with the stock continues. Why? Well, because during major technological shifts, fear of missing the future can become stronger than valuation concerns. And once investors start imagining a company becoming critical to AI infrastructure, money can move very aggressively. That doesn't mean the stock goes straight up forever. It doesn't. But it does mean narrative becomes extremely powerful. And right now, the narrative around Marvell is changing. Not because it suddenly appeared out of nowhere, but because Wall Street may now be repositioning it inside the broader AI ecosystem. And now we've got AMD entering the conversation, so people notice. And this is also part of a larger market behavior pattern, which is once the first AI winners become obvious, investors, we start searching for suppliers, for partners, for infrastructure companies, and bottleneck businesses connected to the trade. And that's how capital flows during speculative technological cycles. And honestly, that may be exactly what we're watching happen right now with Marvell. I got some this morning, and I'm going to hang on to it. We'll see how things go. Check out my website, jackcarterbooks.com. I'll see you next time.